All right, I just finished reading the 13th book in my Read What You Own challenge, and I have to say this book was absolutely mystifying. At times it's terrifying, at times it's horrifying, at times it's very gripping, and at times it's very philosophical and asks some really big questions. And it's the kind of science fiction that I really like because it doesn't really feel like typical science fiction. It's this book, Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. Really special, really unique book. I'm really happy I've read this. I feel like I'm on a great reading streak, and this is one of many great books I've read and many more to come. Not going to go too deep into this book, and I'll tell you why about that in a minute, but I will give you a quick rundown on it. It's basically set in what seems to be Russia, although it's not directly referred to as Russia, and it takes place in a period of time in the near future after aliens have visited Earth very briefly. They made no direct contact and they left, and when they left, there's these zones that were created where the ships landed, and these people go in to take out material that's been left behind, and the people who do that are called stalkers, and that's the inspiration for the Russian film Stalkers, and I believe there's also a video game. I haven't seen the film, and I haven't played the video game either, but this book really blew me away. It has a lot of kind of metafictional elements or postmodern elements that I really liked and really work for the book, particularly different narrative structures on different ways of approaching and telling the story. So the story opens with an interview between a scientist and a journalist. And then we shift to a first-person perspective of Redrick, who is a stalker. He's going into one of the zones to retrieve an item and bringing it out to kind of sell it on the black market or kind of a gray market. It's kind of like a widely known practice that happens. And then after that, it shifts to a third-person limited and then a third-person omniscient and then back to a third-person limited. And it's a really interesting story. It raises a lot of themes, a lot of questions. In my mind, and on the face of reading it the first time, just coming right out of it, there's kind of two big questions. One is a very common question, I think, in science fiction, but an interesting question is that, are humans just ants at some sort of intergalactic picnic, meaning there's much larger things happening that we don't know, and we're just kind of scurrying around, picking up crumbs and scraps. Literally in the book, they are doing that. They are just kind of picking up the garbage, the alien garbage left behind. And some of it is very toxic and some of it is very dangerous material. The other questions too are like that I think is raised that's just quite interesting is how does humanity deal with sudden leaps forward in technology? And it raises along with that issues of class, issues of equality, issues of wealth inequality, issues of resource access, and things like that. And there's a lot of undercurrents of that in the book, which I found really, really interesting. But it's a great book. It's a great read. I've talked about this more than I wanted to in this video, and the reason for that is because you're going to find that I'm putting full-length book reviews now up on my Patreon. So I will have a video where I discuss this at length on Patreon coming soon, and I'll put the link down to that below. I had experimented a bit with Substack, which is a great platform. I think I talked about this in a previous video. It's a great platform. Lots of cool stuff that you can do, extremely easy to use, and it's really well built. I mean, I have to say it's probably one of the better built blogging, podcasting, its own now platforms. It's like its own little kind of social network, but it has like really heavy like LinkedIn vibes to it, where it's just like a lot of people are on there selling services and boasting about how much money they make. I made 60,000 grand while you were sleeping. Buy my Substack master course to find out how, which I guess there's some truth to that. It's just, it feels like very much feels like LinkedIn. It doesn't really feel like a place for bookish content. So I'm going to go with Patreon. and take some time to grow that. So if you're interested in what I do and you're interested in longer videos about specific books, please join my Patreon. You'll also get a newsletter, and I'll be sharing other types of content there too. You can jump over to my Patreon page and find out what I've got over there. I've just got one tier. It's pretty cheap, and I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible for people who really just want book reviews and other types of content related to that, and kind of some behind the scenes content. So enough about that, enough plugging. Next up for my reading, I've got The Lathe of Heaven lined up. I'm going to start this in a couple of days with The Lit Wizard. We're doing a buddy read on this, and then we'll do a video together, like a collab video, and we'll share about that. Really looking forward to this. Ursula Le Guin sci-fi classic. And in case you don't know too, I'm a part of the Lit Wizard's Discord. He's got a pretty cool Discord, and he's trying some new things that I think are pretty innovative and pretty interesting, with an eye on having a more accessible community and also trying to have a community that appeals to creators. So if you are a booktuber or a small booktuber and you like my content, and if you like his content, definitely check it out. It's free to join, and there's some really cool stuff available. Yeah, enough about that. And I'm also reading a couple of short stories from Alistair Reynolds. This collection is Zima Blue. This wasn't on my TBR. I made a big video about the science fiction books I'm going to read. I'm going to slip this one in because it's short stories, and I really like short stories. And I've read a couple of these already. I read a couple last night, and I have to say, those are some really cool short stories. It's more traditional science fiction, kind of what you expect from conventional science fiction or genre science fiction, in that, you know, there's like wacky, cool aliens on strange worlds and strange planets, weird robots, and, you know, all kinds of just kind of cool stuff. But it's pretty cool writing. I didn't really know what to expect. I've never read any Alistair Reynolds before. So it's pretty interesting to read, and it's a pretty interesting contrast to Roadside Picnic. When Roadside Picnic is, in my mind, an unconventional science fiction novel that is probably, in my mind, closer to literary fiction than science fiction, and that's a good thing. Not that science fiction is bad or doesn't have literary qualities, but in my opinion, just from my tastes, the science fiction that I like is kind of literary, kind of science fiction. And also the literary fiction I like is also more genre oriented, whether that's crime or noir or horror or science fiction. So I kind of like the stuff that's in the middle, kind of in the gray zones, if you will. So that's a quick update from me. Loved Roadside Picnic. Looking forward to Lathe of Heaven and enjoying Zima Blue. If you've read any of these and you have thoughts about them, please let me know in the comments below. If you're doing the Read What You Own challenge, also let me know how you're progressing with that. I'm on book 13 of 75. So I got a long road ahead of me before I can buy any more books. And of course, also please check out my Patreon page. I would love to see you support me there, and I'd love to see you join me over there. In case you don't know, my name is Carl, and this has been Please Read Your Book.